a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell.
Everybody coming out.
God bless. Chaplain.
You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Pledge of Allegiance, word by word, meaning explained by Red Skeleton. This is dedicated to all anti-Americans. Perhaps this will help you understand all of us patriots and President Trump to a much better degree. To the republic for which it stands.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
I am Michael. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. And where we go one, we go all. Republican lawmaker makes ominous prediction about the IG Horowitz FISA abuse report. Essentially, it was a coup attempt, he said. Republican Judiciary Committee member Representative Andy Biggs from Arizona predicted Sunday an investigation probing potential abuses of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act will end with tons of indictments. I anticipate that we're going to see some very stark revelations of manipulations of the whole system for political purpose, Biggs said on Fox News. When you see that happen, that's when I think you're going to see reference of referrals for indictments. And I think you're actually going to see some indictments. Biggs claimed the report would uncover essentially a coup attempt against President Donald J. Trump. The investigation led by Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz has concluded now. The inquiry focused on potential FISA abuses related to the government obtaining a surveillance warrant on Trump campaign associate Carter Page and probed the DOJ's overall handling of the Russia investigation. Biggs said he expects Horowitz's report will be finalized by mid-September now, with all the pushbacks and final 11th hour testimonies. With regard to another investigation that was going on, the inquiry into the origins of the Russia investigation that is being led by U.S. Attorney John Durham, Biggs predicted there will be accountability. I think that you're going to see some accountability there, he said, quote. He also said, I hope we see accountability, as what I think we all do. So let's listen in here to this 4-minute interview on Fox News right here.
The DOJ Inspector General releasing a report on James Comey Thursday, finding the former FBI director violated bureau policies in his handling of memos on his private meetings with President Trump. The president's supporters calling it the tip of the iceberg of alleged anti-Trump bias at the FBI as we await 2 more DOJ reports on alleged FISA abuse and the origins of the Russia investigation. Let's bring back Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman, let's start there. Your reaction to the Inspector General's findings on James Comey.
Well, I thought it was very interesting because Mr. Comey had been indicating that he was kind of above the fray, but we know actually he was right in the middle of it. He confirmed that he leaked information to a friend to get it to a New York Times reporter because he wanted to manipulate the appointment of a special counsel, which started the whole the whole Mueller investigation, which is basically tried to put a damper on the Trump presidency. And I just felt like when you read it, it was nothing surprising there. It was what we anticipated. But I think Mr. Comey basically is just dodging and weaving, and I don't think he understands fully what he did was even wrong. And that's a real problem, to realize that the very top guy at the FBI does not acknowledge his problems and what he did was wrong. He's defending it, and he feels he should be apologized to. It was actually audacious in many respects.
More reports to come. What are your expectations for Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report on DOJ's handling of the Russia probe, which sounds like could come any day?
Yeah, we anticipate that's going to come probably mid-September, and I anticipate that we're going to see some very stark revelations of manipulation of the whole system for political purposes. And when you see that happen, that's when I think you're going to see references or referrals for indictments, and I think you're going to actually see some indictments. I hope you do, because this is trying to take down a sitting president is absolutely outrageous. It's essentially a coup attempt, and that's what we saw happening here.
Then there's Connecticut federal prosecutor John Durham looking into the origins of the Russia investigation. What are you looking for on that front?
Well, I would anticipate that he's going to find that you're going to have a setup. So all of this goes back to George Papadopoulos, and basically he was set up, and you're going to find that there was nothing there. The Fusion GPS dossier, which is basically a set of memos that were basically just put out for Oppo research, and some of it was just flat out lies, were used to try to infiltrate the Trump campaign and then in turn take down the president shortly after he was elected. And this has been a problem for us for 3 years now. And I just the most outrageous thing you can imagine, and I think that you're going to see some accountability there. I hope we see accountability there.
Then there's the issue of immigration. You're a border state lawmaker. Is there any chance of Congress getting something done on tightening loopholes, addressing some of the roots of the illegal immigration problem?
Well, I would hope so. I would hope that we could at least address some of the asylum issues. I'm not very sanguine about that, and I'll tell you why. We have members of the other side that are actually calling for the abolition of the ICE agency, and ICE is the enforcement arm of the immigration laws. And so, if you're not willing to enforce immigration laws, it speaks to an unwillingness, quite frankly, to change and tighten the immigration laws, and that's a problem I see going forward here.
Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, we thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, Mike.
I'm Michael. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. Decide for yourself. Be free from outside opinion. Decide for yourself. Be objective in your conclusions. Decide for yourself. Be true in your own beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be open to following the facts. Decide for yourself. Be strong in defending your beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be resistant to blindly accepting factless statements. Decide for yourself and be free. Those who attack you, those who mock you, those who call you, those who control you, those who label you, do they represent you, or do they represent themselves in some form? Mental enslavement, the Great Awakening, freedom of thought, was designed and created not only as a back channel to the public away from the long-standing mind control of the corrupt and heavily biased media, to endure future events through transparency and regeneration of individual thought, breaking the chains of groupthink, but more importantly, aid in the construction of a vehicle, a ship that provides the scattered free thinkers with a starter, a new social networking platform which allows for freedom of thought, expression, and patriotism, or national pride, the feeling of love, devotion, and the sense of attachment to a homeland and alliance with other citizens who share the same sentiment. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or the stable. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding the truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. When you are awake, you are able to clearly see the choice is yours and yours alone. Trust and put faith in yourself. You are not alone, and you are not in the minority. Difficult truths will soon see the light of day. Where we go one, we go all. Folks, it has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life running the Patriot Hour and meeting all of you patriots. You guys really are some of the greatest patriots a fellow's ever seen. Again, I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. Please like, share, and make a comment on this video. We're heavily shadow banned, so share while you can across all social media platforms. It helps beat the YouTube algorithm. You can manually share it where their algorithms are not. Thank you.
So it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.
All right, good morning, good morning. It is bright and early. Tried to be on by 8 a.m. That was my goal. Just a few minutes behind, I think, for here on out. I should be able to reach that. Sometimes I'm going to go on earlier, but the norm will be possibly kick off around 7:30. Have some stuff lined up from that week, that month, some favorites, request, whatever. And then right around 7:55, 8 a.m., pretty much 8 a.m., I'll be jumping on. Other mornings, I might be able to get on 6. It just depends, folks. Just depends. All right, so we are going to go into some articles, some headlines. Probably have Ben joining in here in a little bit. We'll see what is going on. First off, I'd like to say good morning to Amy, the mod, in the room holding it down. It looks like the only mod, possibly. We got Woodman in the room. See Woodman there, probably drinking his coffee. James Neal. Good morning, buddy. Couple of familiar faces in here. Aussie Dog. Now, I don't know what time it is where you're at, Aussie. I thought it would only be maybe midnight, or maybe it's actually 5, like 5 in the afternoon or something. I'm not sure. But good morning, Patriots. Good morning. Good morning. Post what? 385? Post 143. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but post 143. Oh, he's probably talking about a Q post. All right, so let's jump in here to a few articles this morning. You guys all been waiting. Thanks for waiting. Again, good morning. If you're new to the channel, make sure you are subscribed here at the Patriot Tech. It is our backup. Our backup. Good morning, Melody Anon. Good morning to you. Okay, again, So here we are on the True Pundit. Watch Biden's eyes fill with blood during CNN's climate town hall. I mean, what in the heck is going on here? So Biden's eyes fill with blood during CNN climate town hall. Former Vice President Joe Biden's left eye appeared to have a blood vessel burst while he was participating in CNN's town hall on climate change. Biden has long been plagued by health issues. In 1988, he suffered an aneurysm that burst and required him to undergo emergency surgery. The then senator was so close to death that a Catholic priest began preparing to administer the sacrament of last rites. Hey guys, Joe Biden's eye filled with blood while on stage at the CNN town hall. Months later, surgeons clipped a second aneurysm before it burst. Biden then took a 7-month leave from the Senate following the surgery. He described the operation as, "They literally had to take the top of my head off."
When we did the Paris Accord that they signed on to, it was agreed that we would constantly up the ante the nations would agree to, contingent upon what the science dictated and the extent of the problem. It has to, we have to up the ante, what's going on, number one. Number two, any nation that doesn't do that, for example.
Lisa Gardner, I guess his clone is malfunctioning.
They're exporting coal technology. They're building coal plants on their Belt and Road area. They're moving in a way that they're in fact making the environment much, much worse. They, in fact, have increased, I think, 4.5%. They have increased the emissions from China. And so there has to be a price that they pay if they do that. And that's why I would talk about dealing with how we deal with them in terms of tariffs relating to their products that are being sold, if in fact they are involved in continuing to export this
if he was an Indian, his name would be Red Eye. Or I don't know, maybe he smoked a little before he went on stage. I don't know. But the eye was blistering. He bursted something, folks. He definitely bursted something in his eyeball. Unbelievable. I'm not real sure. We've heard about his aneurysms in the past, his surgeries, his near-death experiences. So, this is not a Photoshop. Eye of the Tiger. Photos seen in Jeffrey Epstein's mansion raid apparently showed Fidel Castro, Pope John Paul II. Video from 2005 police raid at convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's, one of his many homes, but the one in Florida. The mansion showed an array of photos on display, one of which appeared to be show Epstein and the Pope John Paul II, with another depicting Cuba's Fidel Castro. So it's not entirely clear whether the photos were legitimate. However, Colombian ex-president Andres Pastrana said Epstein traveled to Cuba on Castro's invitation, the Miami Herald reported, adding the trip likely took place in 2003. So here's some photos. Unless these are some Photoshop photos Epstein liked to have around, they would appear to be Fidel Castro there and face-to-face with Epstein. The photo on the left appeared to show Ghislaine Maxwell and Fidel Castro, which both on the right showing Epstein and Maxwell with Pope John Paul II. There you go. So it's GM plus Castro here, Maxwell. And then the Pope with both. So the video was taken by police inside Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. Also showed the house was partially decorated with explicit photos and imagery of young women. Fox News reported on Thursday. Unbelievable, folks. Like I said, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, we keep getting more and more on Epstein's famous Pedo Island fiascos. We talked about the $3.6 billion to build the 175 miles more of the wall, or that's what's left. Hundreds of others are implicated, and the Epstein went over that with a great video you can catch. Okay, I do see Ben's finally here to join us. Let me... Obama White House counsel smokes DOJ, found not guilty. Obama White House counsel smokes the DOJ, found not guilty. So Greg Craig, a prominent Washington lawyer and former White House counsel under President Barack Obama, was found not guilty by a jury Wednesday of false statements to the Justice Department about his work for the pro-Russian government of Ukraine in 2012. The verdict, which came after approximately 4 hours of deliberations in Washington, D.C. federal courthouse, was a major setback for the DOJ's recently redoubled efforts to closely scrutinize overseas lobbying work. In April, Craig became the first prominent Democrat to be indicted in a case arising from special counsel Robert Mueller's now completed probe into Russia election interference. Mueller referred Craig's case to the prosecutors in New York last year after uncovering possible wrongdoing while he investigated former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort's Ukraine lobbying work. The grand jury indicted Craig on 2 counts of making false and misleading statements to investigators, including Mueller's team and the DOJ National Security Division's FARA unit, in connection with his work on the behalf of the Russia-backed former president of the Ukraine, Viktor Yugoslav. One of these counts was dismissed before trial. That work drew the Justice Department's attention, occurred in 2012 when Craig and his law firm at the time, Sackett and App, Arps, Slate, Meager, and Flom, were engaged by the government of the Ukraine to review the prosecution of Yuly Tomashchenko, a former Ukraine prime minister, and produce a report on whether the trial met Western standards of justice. Tomashchenko was a political opponent of Yanukovych, a longtime Manafort patron and political figure, whom Gates said he and Manafort had helped get elected. Unbelievable. It's no justice as usual on those cases. So again, what did we expect? Mueller referred this Democrat to the New York high courts, and the grand jury didn't. And now we'll find out the grand jury was halfly parted with the actual information. Key things were probably left out that they just didn't need to know. Who knows? But that's how grand juries work. We're finding out. They can either go, it's like a knife, folks, a real sharp knife. You drop your meat down on it, and it's either going to slice and go this way or that way. And it just depends on who is running the grand jury. We talk about that a lot. So, all right, let's bring Ben in the studio here. He's beaming in from his. It's going to be a great morning. We got some other articles to get into and hot topics. Thanks for joining in again, Ben, brother. Oh,
good morning.
Good morning. Good
All
morning.
the Patriots.
What is going on?
Oh, wonderful morning. I was watching here, kind of following earlier. I got like a little feedback, a little.
Oh yeah, you should.
Echo. Hiya.
I probably did too the whole time I was talking.
I was kind of following along with your first part of the show.
When I showed that video of his eye bleeding, I forgot they wouldn't be able to hear it unless I would have clicked the one button, so I forgot. But,
no worries. The bottom line is this isn't the first time that the people on movie stars, political people have come out with a black eye. Hell, the Pope had a black eye. Now, if we see Epstein with the Pope, his pictures, we know the children and what's happening to them in the Catholic Church, in the Vatican, and all over this earth. So we've told you guys before, they have it all. The man's dead, but there's still lots of people who's going down. That's for sure. There's no way about it. By the way, good morning to all the Patriots out here, man. That's all you guys are out this morning. All the mods holding it down.
Yes. Good morning.
And of course, we're always anxious, like children in the candy store, for the D class to come. I want it just as bad as you guys do. Trust me. I'm especially now hearing about those 3 particular documents out of the many that will be declassed, highlighting letters between the Iranian president and Obama's administration and Obama himself. That's going to be real juicy.
And I mean, it seems like we keep getting these little tidbits of things and then stuff like this, and people are like, nobody's going down ever. They must have just something big that's just Trump derangement syndrome is so bad that leftists are wishing for his Mar-a-Lago property to get blasted. They're like praying for natural disaster.
One of his properties gets he takes a financial
They're literally
loss.
wishing for people to die. Like, what if a lot of innocent people die? Don't matter. we need, this hurricane to take out malaria. That'll teach him some lesson,
That'll shut him up.
That'll shut Trump up. It's like, no, he'll stand to make this amount of money. He's got great insurance. You guys don't get it.
Yeah, you don't understand it. How many of us would like our houses to burn down or get destroyed so we get the insurance money? I mean, come on now.
This would be a blessing in disguise, like anything else.
I mean, come on now.
Don't
So
make
if China goes for it. If not, it's still good.
Yeah. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable.
Margaret Tail, I wonder what caused eye to bleed. Joe was just hitting the eye. If he hit, I wonder he would have a shiner. Nah, well, look at when you get hit hard enough in the eye, you can burst blood vessels in the eye. I personally have seen and contributed to that medical phenomena. When you get a black eye, that means you got socked, but your eye socket took the brunt of the force, and the person either didn't hit
Have
you
you
with
ever
the
seen
top
the Three
ridge of his
Stooges,
fist.
Margaret?
I mean, nick. Now, when you hit somebody in the eye hard enough to burst the actual blood vessels in the oculus in the eye, yeah, he got
and
slapped
the
pretty
mob
hard.
and police and stuff, they like to put phone books to your head and then punch the phone
Bam!
book, and it just gives a nice equal pressure to the whole head.
like you didn't get hit, more you
Doesn't
fell.
hurt right here so much, or right here, more like right here. It just hurts.
all over here. It's really painful. That's that method has been implied many a times.
Yeah, I was going through my I got a Roku box from years ago, so I got a bunch of these obscure apps on there, folks, and years ago I went through the internet and actually logged into the software for the Roku, and you can get certain channels that people run. We can probably get a Patriot Hour one. I don't know how many people have Rokus, but literally they're like these channels that you'll never find through the Roku professional store that's on their little device. You go right to the little icon, and then in there you can search for apps. These ones are secret. You have to like go to the thing and type in codes. They're like literally like 645892, and it's like, well, why would you type that? And well, you have to find these websites or people that are talking about their channel, and here's their code, and then it takes 24 hours. They have to like approve you, and then you get the little icon added. But anyway, I got some really old obscure ones, and I found one that had this one app I have, it has all these little categories, and one in there's like old shows, and I went in there, and Red Skeleton is in there. He's got a whole channel. I was like, wow, which is somebody I just used, and then whatever we were just talking about is on there as well. What did somebody say here? Three Stooges. There's a whole Three Stooges channel. So I found myself watching that the other night. It was hilarious. So.
Well, this is,
awesome.
and I'm glad you brought this up, because this is, we've been talking about branching out and doing more, and we have been behind the scenes than just using YouTube's platform. We know that you guys are getting information from other places, not just YouTube, but the actual web, and so the Patriot is trying to expand in many, many areas, and we're just trying to basically get ahead of the storm before it hits, because once that antitrust thing goes through, we don't know who's going to own YouTube and what their policies are going to be. They could go private, totally private, and say we're just going to shadow ban it because it's private. We want to.
And
It's
it's
not going to be public.
And it's never been
forum
good
anymore.
It's never been right.
Yeah.
It's never been good. We've had nothing but issues. Some are played on our end on purpose, but some people. Doesn't matter if you monetize or not. If you monetize, there's just more effery that's involved with YouTube. So that was our own thing. This channel, we're not monetized. The other one, I decided to monetize. Doesn't matter. We're demonetized. We're deplatformed. We're shadow banned. But like Ben said, and I had said this from the beginning, I didn't even know it was going to be YouTube. I had actually had a video recorded like this, and then was talking to Ben. I was like, I don't know. I got a video. I don't know where to put it up to. I think I'm going to go YouTube. I did YouTube because all phones come prepackaged with YouTube, iPhone, Androids,
Machines, tablets, you name it.
There,
It comes with-
you have to set out and it's like, I want BitChute, and let me get BitChute, and you have to like get it and find it and probably hack your phone to get it to install on there, because it's not friendly for them. It's not the one they want you to use, basically. So came to YouTube because we knew, this is a majority of people. I felt there was a lot of people sleeping here. So we jumped on YouTube and ran with it, literally ran without looking back. So
that's
we
true,
we branched out. We got to Patreon. We looked into the live different. We were trying to do our own website. I mean, we've had ups and downs. It's been a great journey from the start till today. But yeah, we do want to, like I said, we originally wanted to do, when we're live here now, we wanted to be at least live to a few other platforms. So that's our goal. Also, probably radio podcast type thing. I think we can become part of the internet radio just by signing up. And then when we go live, I can hit one other little click here somewhere and it'll shoot out our voices over the internet superhighway. So to say.
No, yeah, anything we can do to get the information and this message in our research, and even, let's just face it, our opinions on what we read, because Mike and I have been delving into processing lies for many, many, many years, and it's once you have a skill set and it's honed, you could do some damage with that skill set. And so Mike and I, like I said, when it comes to researching, reading articles, understanding what those articles are telling you and what they're not telling you, I mean, that's something that we've worked on a whole bunch for a big chunk of our lives, and now being able to bring it to you, we just want to have as many platforms we can disseminate it on at once, without Mike being in the studio for 10 hours trying to do 12 videos to different platforms, to different, some videos have to be coded a certain way to fit on this platform. And so, yeah, it's refreshing to see these things coming out. And Kelly Dunn, we will be creating our own platform, but we also want our main goal, and this is all before Q came out, by the way. We were talking about this a long time. Mike was even doing videos and starting the channel before any of that crazy phenomena came on. And Mike said it, man. YouTube is the most predominant and ubiquitous open source video platform there is right now on the internet, and it comes on every machine. And so, again, here at the Patriot Hour, we try to be logical, methodical, and try to prepare for our up-and-coming victories. And so, naturally, critically, YouTube was the first choice. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So it's been a crazy ride, and even just going over some of the articles today, man, it's amazing what, with the proper information and just a little bit of research and just talking about it with somebody else and having you guys in here, you can really break down a lot of information and really get it down.
Drinking some coffee this morning here.
Oh, I got your Q mug. I got my bland mug.
Good morning. Love a good hot cup of truth in the morning.
Nice bean juice.
So, let's call it UseTube or MetTube. MeTube. Yeah.
What's up to all of our mods? Amy the mod says, I heard things about the NRA switched to GOA. The California. NRA, I guess... Yeah, California deemed them a terrorist organization.
I don't know if it's a whole state or was it just that San Francisco or that area.
San Francisco.
It's
so hard to tell these Ruskies when they kind of get together. It's a sea of red. If you when it comes to the communists over there, it's crazy. Not everybody in California, but I mean the National Rifle Association. I mean, just the good they've done in the way of. Okay, for instance, if you want to go hunting, if you're a state or you're a person who enjoys deer hunting or small game hunting, you most likely have to take a hunter safety course.
Yes.
A hunter safety course, a lot of the materials in the hunter safety course that most of your children take before they become men or women are a lot of material is printed up by the NRA, and in some cases, not all, some cases, representatives or people who are part of the NRA are actually giving the hunter safety course. Here locally, where I live at, we have our local conservation club. that works with the Department of Natural Resources and with DNR, and with the National Rifle Association for materials. So my boys, when they got hunter safety courses, they were reading pamphlets from the National Rifles Association and say, this is a rifle, this is a pistol, this is what they. So it's like they're teaching our children about our Second Amendment, and they're getting trampled upon. Now, not everybody there is, walks on water.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's bad apples.
Somebody asked about a Dorian update. Yeah, it looks like it's heading for, like they're saying, folks, heading right towards Carolinas. They're evacuating. They've called for some evacuations on the Carolina coast, folks, as the coast braces for this hurricane force winds. Again, the officials urge all residents to evacuate. Dorian regains some strength as it closes in on the Carolinas as well. So, hey, it's heading towards D.C. The storm is arrived. That's what people have been saying here. It's interesting for sure that this hurricane is just rode its way up the coast. Now, it did miss Florida. Florida got nothing but lots of winds, lots of rain. There's actually parts of Florida that are flooding. Of course, when you have a hurricane, you're going to have lots of winds, lots of rain, flooding. So, I don't know. We don't see Danielle in the room to ask her any updates exactly what happened with her area of Florida. But will anyone from Florida in the room let us know what's going on down there? Just, is it
Anna
sunny
Cobb
out today?
says tornadoes everywhere. Anna Cobb posts.
Oh, wow.
We do know when it comes to Hurricane Dorian, it's moving very slow, and it doesn't. It took a while to make up its mind where it's going to go. It's walking up the East Coast. It's now locked in. That's where it's going. You have water and you have land, and that's where the whole tip of Florida. We didn't know what was going to happen, but it's walking up there. The Carolinas are getting hit. It's going to go before it really boils down to a Category 2, 3, 1, however it loses its luster or its strength, if you will. But I mean, this is just crazy time, and you guys, and it's literally dancing on the eastern seaboard.
Very nice.
Whoa, connect.
Now, you guys probably can't hear this, and that's fine. We don't need to.
Yeah, they're basically telling you that it's really windy where he's at, but not windy enough to blow over the trees around him or his windbreaker. So he isn't quite in the path of a storm, but he's going to tell you that it is coming to North Carolina. He's talking to you from Wilmington. Now, we don't know if it's downgraded to a Category 3 because it's hit and it's been basically rubbing up against the eastern seaboard, losing its momentum and losing its fury. Let's hope that when it does hit the Carolinas, it's going to be downgraded to maybe a 2 or a 1.
Yeah, so North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper warned residents on Wednesday afternoon to adhere to the evacuation orders and finish last-minute storm preparations as the coast of the Carolinas brace for Hurricane Dorian, a Category 3 storm at this minute, so whose center is projected to come within 40 miles off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina. Today is a day to finish prepping, Cooper said Wednesday afternoon. Do not underestimate this dangerous storm. Listen to your local emergency officials and leave now if they have ordered any evacuation. So there you go. Looks like today sometime the National Hurricane Center in Miami said at 5 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday that Dorian's maximum sustained winds were 115. That's a lot less than the 180 that we were getting. It was located about 80 miles off the southeast coast of Charleston, moving up at about 8 miles per hour. The hurricane was a Category 3 storm Tuesday, then dropped to a Category 2 before regaining some strength on Wednesday night, according to the National Hurricane Center.
Regaining strength.
So it regained. Hurricane force winds were extending upward to about 60 miles an hour from the center, while tropical storm force winds were extending outward of 195. So Dorian could maintain this intensity for about 12 more hours. Oh, that's amazing how they know that. It's just
12 hours and 38 minutes and 14 seconds, and then it should be done.
Then we'll
people.
see. We should see something by then. So, nearly 8,000 troops across Florida, Georgia, South Kakalaki, and North Kakalaki, and nearly 400 North Carolina National Guard soldiers are also positioned in armories across the state.
Yes, awesome.
So there you go.
So now it's interesting. Now you see, you guys, we didn't even read this, and Mike and I already knew that it was not going to be a Category 5 because it's so close to landfall, right? This is just logical thinking. This is just being on the Earth and watching weather.
Paying attention to your time on the Earth.
Remember, climate change is real. It was dark this morning. It was turning sunny. Yeah,
it was cold last night. Now it's getting a little warmer.
It's getting a little warmer. It's changing. So if you see that if it gains strength, that is not natural. There's something called the law of entropy. Everything will equal out. It won't be all chaotic. You can't. It goes from order to chaos, not from chaos to order. The law of entropy. If it was a Category 5 and it hits land, it's going slower. It turns slower, moves faster. Now, I'm not a meteorologist. This is just called logical thinking. When you look at the weather and you see this is how it's supposed to happen. Gain and kick up more speed. They lose speed as they leave and come closer to land. So these are small little tidbits you got to watch out for to kind of say, again, more questions that need to be answered. Graham asked Barr to declassify trove of documents from Trump-Russia investigation.
Ooh.
Yes. And Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham requested the Attorney General William Barr make a trove of documents relating to the probe into President Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. In a letter penned Thursday and released on Tuesday, Graham, a staunch senatorial ally of the president, called on the Attorney General to declassify and release certain documents related to the investigation, saying that they would be integral for the Inspector General Michael Horowitz's presentation of his probe results to the public. In order for the Inspector General to be able to present the most complete results of his investigation to Congress and the American people, certain documents will need to be declassified and released to the public, wrote Graham. I write to urge you to declassify all documents the Inspector General identifies as appropriate for declassification as much as possible without harming national security, South Carolina Senator wrote. Ooh, we want it all, people. We want it all.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. We want more. Ooh,
I want more.
So here it is.
Good. That's good.
We know all about this, Senator. He doesn't pull punches, and so he's writing a letter to the president, urging the president to have our Attorney General look at everything to declass pretty much as possible without hindering national security. That's a pretty broad stroke to be making, Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Even like the gas receipts when they went to fill up the company vehicle, everything.
This is a funny headline. Bernie Sanders set to release immigration plan shaped by illegals. Like, what do you guys think we should put in?
He's taking a cue from the Federal Reserve guys at 1913 out there.
Well, it's like, after the banking financial collapse, it's the last person you want to let write all the regulations is the people that just took us through that little horror show. It's kind of like I was saying, I thought about the government buyback program, but I vested and investigated the people that were going to be buying them, the government, and no, they didn't pass. They have a long train of abuses and usurpations and humanitarian issues against people, so they didn't qualify to buy my gun back. As you know,
yeah. So they didn't do the background.
They like to tell who's good to have a gun, but it's like, well, you guys aren't even good to have it. Well, that was the past administrations that did those horror things. You were an individual.
That wasn't on my time.
So think about that, folks. So Bernie Sanders' press secretary announced that the campaign will soon release their immigration package. And it was, they sat down at a round table with a bunch of illegals. And they all hashed it out and came up with a nice plan. That there's no bias in this paperwork now, folks. This is
I wonder if it's illegal to submit this paperwork because it was done by a foreign entity, i.e., an illegal immigrant.
Is this foreign interference?
Is this foreign collusion? I mean,
look
they're
at
even
that.
pulling
Look at
up.
that. Bernie Sanders' press secretary announced the campaign will soon release an immigration plan shaped by 3 staffers for Bernie who are illegal immigrants.
Dude, this is crazy. This is that's
This guy's
collusion with
unfit
an illegal
to be president.
Oh, Bernie slanders.
We know we can do better.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that greatest part of all of this is that we have people who are experiencing these struggles as they write these struggles. So here you go. They're talking part in the plan.
Blinken's sister boasted, regarding the forthcoming plan. Now, here's the deal. So should I go get some Iranians to write up our fiscal year plan and present them? Look at, these people.
Why don't we go invade Iraq again and let them write up our invasion plan?
Ooh, that's a great idea. Then you go and say, hey, Iraq, we like the oil we got the first time. That's why we came over.
We kind of want to come bomb you and take you, but what do you guys think? How where should we enter into your country by boat? By what shoreline, what beach should we
by land, sea, or air? What bombing run do you suggest is
what bombs do you prefer we drop, and where would you like them dropped?
Chemical,
drop them over
non-chemical?
here. They make a new map and kind of kick over the country they don't own, but make it look like they own it, and drop them right here, and it's like some other country. And yeah, I mean, come on, folks.
It's crazy that they're actually admitting. So technically, Bernie Sanders should have charges brought against him for harboring illegal.
Yeah.
Harboring
Comforting,
criminals.
giving aid.
Giving
All of it.
aid, shaking of the hand, hugging of the shoulder.
Patting in the back.
I mean, this is intolerable.
Scratching of the back. I mean, come
You're
on.
talking, they're actually telling you. So what? So if I was an ICE agent, shouldn't I make a phone call? Be like, hey, the Sleepy Joe's people over there. Yeah, why don't you just take a drive today at lunchtime down there in D.C. and go check out this person, that person, this person. Oh, by the way, they should be writing a proposal for our country. And by the way, if there is any ICE agents out there in that area, go pay them a visit because there's 3 people you can take back to the country they come from. Because they're illegal, they're criminals. Every breath they take is another crime committed on our soil.
That's what we say, we sometimes, they're coming from a really lawless country, Ben. And it's like, okay, well, you've never been there, so you don't know. But then again, how do you get that point? How, the government, like here, our government, it's not as big as the body of people that it governs. That it's supposed to.
Of course not, yeah.
But, it's like you have the corrupt government, you have a couple corrupt street gangs or cartels, and that's who runs Mexico. The cartels and the crooked government, and the people are fleeing from this. They can't stand to be around it. They're dying. They've taken all their guns. They don't have a way to fight back against the government who has guns, or the cartel. I thought they took the guns, but the cartels have them. The government has them.
The cartel has the best guns. And the bottom line is,
and now we're led to believe that these people run across the border with, they're shooting at me, the government and cartel, and I just got to get away from it. And we're all, now people still here like, yeah, let's give our guns to our governments and get them out of the hands of law-abiding people. It should work. Well, it's like, just look at Mexico. You guys are arguing that they have the right to run here because their country's lawless. Well, we're not there yet. You're trying to take us down that road because, that's what's funny about it.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people who've never been to Mexico, we've been there. I've been there. I mean, hundreds of times. I used to live real close to the border. Mexico is a beautiful country. You have shithole towns and shithole cities, just like New York City doesn't represent New York. People who live in upstate New York and all this in the air, they say, well, hey, no, New York Cityers, they do not represent me. Or how about, people who live in Michigan and say, listen, people who live in Detroit they do not represent people who live in Michigan. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And they're really adamant about sometimes one city or one place can have a bad taint of the whole entire area.
Well, because there's more people in that one city than there is in the rest of the whole state.
Whole state, exactly. And that's what hammers down. And we see this in multiple states with large metropolitan cities. And so when you see people, people coming from, oh, it's Mexico, they have no food, and it's war torn, and it's a bad time. It's like, you've ever heard something called the North American Free Trade Agreement? Look at where a lot of your food that you buy comes from. It's still coming from Central America, and all the food has to get pipelined through Mexico. So it's it's a fake mainstream media trying to give you lies and trying to say, oh, they're coming here because they're seeking asylum, and there's laws, there's like guidelines. If you are seeking asylum, like the country you're coming from, it has to literally be at war, not just like, well, we have really high taxes over there, and we have a real corrupt government, and they're not really doing very well for the people, and we don't like it there. Well, welcome to a lot of the countries in the world. Yeah. They're real corrupt, and you're trying to fix them.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand. I know we've talked about this before, but that our border, we talk about a lot of our border down on the southern border, that extends or touches Mexico. I get it. That's a main concern. That's where a lot of people are coming. But when you look at the continental U.S., I drew a sketchy little, there's Florida with all the little islands down to Key West. But 85% of people live within, I think, because our border, not only does it touch Mexico and then Canada, it's also our border on each coast, the East Coast, West Coast. And the Border Patrol extends like 100 miles in from any border. So our border essentially goes all around our country because of the water, Canada, Mexico. And
I think 85%,
85% of the population live within 100 miles of a border. And you're like, what? No. Even us here in the Midwest, the waterway, which is we got Lake Michigan. So that touches Michigan.
Yeah.
Almost all of Michigan, the whole state of Michigan's in the
all
border
state of Michigan,
area.
Except for the little middle. Yeah, there's states of
they operate in certain
Illinois,
ways. The
Indiana,
federal government's got that. They're control that. They're allowed to do all kinds of things in these areas.
Well, that's more for that's Border Patrol and National Guard. So in the 100 miles, I think it's 80 or 100. I don't know. I don't know exact, but it's a good chunk of change. Any border or waterways, they can stop you without probable cause and check for your U.S. Citizenship. So that means here, like Mike and I, if we're driving and we get pulled over, and the guy's like, I want to make sure you're an American. Obviously, we have a case for harassment. I'm very, let's just say, very pale in my complexion. We
saw these videos of this happening in towns down by Texas, like 100 miles in almost. I'm getting stopped every day, and it's a 20-minute line.
Border Patrol, and it's a thing.
And then these people weren't trained properly. Like you said, they're supposed to, if the minute you can prove like a license, they can't. Now the agent himself shouldn't be like, well, I think this is fake, and I don't think or who you are. They can't be going into all that stuff. They shouldn't be, but when they're not trained properly, sometimes they do get into all that. And we saw
and that's
the videos.
Unfortunate. Because they don't understand that the only time you can basically do a shakedown for papers, like the Third Reich used to do when they used to shake, where's your papers, is at the physical border. The place where you can put 1 foot in one country and 1 foot in America, that's where you show your paperwork. Once you cross that line, then it's a matter of perception. And so they have 80 to 100 miles of operational within our borders and waterways, and it was designed, and we even read the law. This was a few months ago we went over this, but we read the outline of the law that covers, and that is for if they are in pursuit or have an active case and they're looking for somebody, they don't have to go through all the red tape in the first 100 miles from the border. Now that also says that anybody living in that 100 miles, they can pretty much not do what they want, because that's not true, but they can stop you and make sure that you're a citizen without probable cause. However, they have to be in pursuit or know of a person in that area that is an illegal alien. That's why they operate in certain parts of our country. We don't talk about the north border because if we started getting into Canadian immigration law, you guys would start hating Canadians, okay? You start hating them. You literally would not like Canadians anymore, because if we started telling you how strict the Canadians are when it comes to their immigration, yeah, that's why we don't right now need a northern wall, because they're pretty strict.
All right,
now we keep on talking about this grand solar minimum, and I've heard that a couple times coming up on with what's happening to these storms, people and things like that. I don't know. Have you heard any ramblings of the solar minimum? Just interesting. You know, the reason why they don't say global warming is because you are talking about something that doesn't exist, and every scientist, meteorologist, and climatologist will tell you that was for money. But they'll tell you climate change is real, and the grand solar minimum, that's just another way of saying climate change. Just remember that, you guys.
Yeah, remember, folks, it was climate or global warming forever, and then when that data didn't come their way, it was too hard to pitch. Well, we'll just call it global change or climate change. That way, no matter which way it goes, we're kind of right. It does change, so therefore we're not lying. It's like, ugh. So all right, we're about an hour 20 in. I'm going to take about a 5 to 7 minute break, and then we'll come right back and keep going a little further, get some more bean juice and use the restroom and let the dog out. But I got a little something here lined up. Let me get the playlist here. We'll cut it off if we get back earlier, but this is about a 6 minute, and then I think I got one that's 5 or something. So
by the way, a lot of you patriots are just so awesome and critically thinking. You're saying geoengineering, climate change is natural. No, it's actually a scientific term. Yeah, no, I mean, I could instead of saying small child, I could talk Latin and say fetus. And it sounds better because I say fetus, and I don't use a vulgarity and say small child. Yeah. Jeez.
All right, here we go, folks. Sometimes the illusion everything is going as planned, or the fantasy in your mind that everything is going your way, until it all comes back and hits you square in your face. You're left stunned, baffled. You defend yourself at all cost. You defend your treasonous activities. Comey knows that the clock is ticking down for him, which suggests his recent outlandish behavior. The Hill had dropped a bombshell story that proved James Comey to be a total political hack job who was incompetent to be the head of our FBI. According to the report, in a 2016, a high-ranking government official met with Christopher Steele, the man who wrote the infamous Russia dossier, and found that the dirt that was being dug up on Donald Trump was 100% inaccurate. James Comey tweeting about this week coming up and Mueller's testimony. This week, an American patriot takes center stage. He doesn't want attention. He has principles and follows them, and always tells the truth. What an opportunity for young people to be inspired. What a great opportunity for both parties in Congress to follow his example. Q Post 3458 comes to us on the 21st of July 2019 at 4:35 p.m. If AG Barr has access to all classified material, how does Mueller navigate? If Mueller provides false and or misleading testimony, will AG Barr be forced to declass all documentation to ensure full public awareness of the truth? If Mueller defers to the original report, but D's fake news push a false narrative knowing a majority of the public did not watch the actual hearings, will AG Barr be forced to declass all documentation to ensure full public awareness of the truth? In the brackets, be ready Mueller. In the brackets, be ready James Comey. In the brackets, be ready traitors one and all. Thank you for playing. FISA goes both ways. Q. Q Post 3459 came to us on the 21st of July 2019 at 4:41 p.m. Got a Twitter link here from Maggie NYT. He wasn't seeking to kill a mob boss. He was trying to help Trump, his lawyer says, the New York Times. It's an article of a guy that apparently did something and she's using it to attack the movement, like usual. Every single dirty tactic being deployed to stop the growth of this movement. Ask yourself a very simple question. Why? Why are the biggest media companies in the world, attacking, constantly messing with a LARP, some kids out of their basement, just a game, just a LARP, all for a LARP? I'm Michael, this is a Patriot Hour. Thank you for joining me on the night shift. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all. Have you ever tried to hold on to a reptile? They're slippery and they squirm and they twist until they're out of your grasp. You may even get a nasty bite for your efforts. Well, the creatures in Washington, D.C. swamp are no different. How slippery are they, you might ask? Too slippery for the U.S. Justice Department, if history is a witness. The sordid tales of bigwigs escaping consequences is so well known that few Americans expect anyone to be held accountable for the Russia collusion hoax or FISA-gate alone. But that's okay. The culprits don't expect to face any consequences either. There's a reason that DC-connected swamp crooks expect to slip the noose. It's called the U.S. Justice Department. A list of politicians that have escaped prosecution for crimes would take up far too much time for me to do a video. So let's look at a few government officials protected by the so-called Department of Justice. Hundreds murdered, including one American hero. There were 5 Obama officials under the Eric Holder Justice Department involved with the Fast and Furious gun-walking program. 2,000 U.S. firearms were intentionally placed in the hands of the Mexican drug cartel. An estimated 300 Mexican civilians and 1 U.S. Border Patrol officer, Brian Terry, were killed by people using these exact same weapons. Most of these weapons were never recovered, so people are still dying at the hands of these federal taxpayer-funded weapons. Also back then, Attorney General Lanny Breuer lied to Congress about the gun-walking program, and his punishment was resignation from office 2 years after Fast and Furious was made public. Breuer is also known for not even attempting to prosecute infamous Wall Street bankers who caused the 2008 financial crisis and ruined the finances of millions of people. Also, acting Deputy Attorney General Gary Grinler and Deputy Assistant Attorney General Jason Weinstein resigned prior to Lanny Breuer for their roles in trying to cover up the arms boondoggle. Resigned. That's right, resigned. No jail time. With these lower level officials taking one for the team, masterminds Eric Holder and B. Todd Jones breathed a sigh of relief. Obama went on to appoint Jones as the ATF director. Some would call that a promotion. And then we had some money laundering for terrorists. Loretta Lynch, while working for the Justice Department, refused to prosecute directors of the HSBC Bank, even though the government had a solid case against the organization for laundering hundreds of millions of dollars for terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah, Russian gangs, Mexican drug cartels, and rogue nations like Iran and North Korea, while our men and women in uniform were dying in Iraq and places such forward deployed areas. Bank executives at HSBC were getting richer by the minute, supporting these regimes responsible for their very deaths. Lynch's punishment for allowing all this and these traitors to escape justice was promotion to Attorney General. And then we got the Teflon witch. Hillary Clinton avoided prosecution for her classified email felonies, but also for funneling tens of millions of dollars to a crony and Clinton Foundation donor, Claudio Osorio. You might remember Osorio as the con artist who screwed the Haitian people, the American taxpayers, out of millions of dollars for financial aid after the 2010 earthquake. Osorio got a mere 12-year sentence for his $50 million scam, while Clinton didn't even get a slap on the wrist. Additionally, she leaped over a greater abyss when Loretta Lynch and James Comey turned a blind eye to her favorable dealings with the Russia company, Uranium One, after her receiving $140 million from the Uranium One investors. The money donated to the Secretary of State went into the Clinton Foundation slush fund and their so-called charitable organization, which only ever distributed at the highest levels 3% of its revenue. That means they kept 97%. I could go on and go into history about how it's the same players in the same key spots of how they control everything, but we all know that. We'll get to the point. In the past, expecting the Justice Department to seriously pursue criminal indictments on any big names in any of the three-letter alphabet agencies was just a pipe dream, something that wasn't going to happen. But now, justice will be served. There will be no deals. The indictments will pour down. The information will be a waterfall of truth for all of those living in a sea of lies. I'm Michael. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you. And remember, no deals, just pain. All right, we are back. Yes, get more popcorn. I planted a few popcorn seeds I found after I popped some, and hopefully I'll be growing some popcorn. I'm just joking. All right, some of you are heading off on your day for work. That's awesome. Do what you got to do. We're here. The video will be here for you to watch from the start all the way through again when you have time. No issues, folks. We appreciate you for being here when you can. And doing what you can. All right.
Coming in hot. No, we do, man. We appreciate you guys sticking around. I mean, this is, we're talking to you guys about some of the new things we're doing and trying to keep everybody here on the team, with everything coming out to you. So it's awesome. It's awesome. I love the fact that we're doing these early shows, getting out to you guys, because we're hitting everything from the West Coast to the East Coast, all y'all in the morning time. We're trying to get it ready for you guys. Coast to coast. Have a good one, Mr. Woodman. Airborne, brother. Yes, he's taking off. Got to take care of a few things. Yeah, the chat. By the way, all of our mods, you guys are awesome. Holding it down.
Yes. We'll see Airborne Woodman later. Might have a little midday show if he's available. I was talking to him. Amy's on the road. We are just all over the place with our Patriots following
on the
people
road.
At work,
Hey.
people on break, people taking off, people just getting up.
See, we like getting our day started with you, the Patriots.
Yes.
And how many of us have to get on the road, do things first thing in the morning, and we're either listening to, one of my bad habits was listening to NPR first thing in the morning, and all the news talk radio, which is the same idea as mainstream media. It's just in it's in a audio format versus audio and video. And I tell you, it's refreshing to be able to be giving you guys the news before a lot of outlets. Time and time again.
We were saying that yesterday that Tucker at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, his 8 o'clock primetime show, he was going over the Walmart thing, and I was like, awesome. We went over
watched
that
our
12
video,
hours
got
earlier.
some content. Yep.
So, it's nice to know that we're on the right track on the things, because there's lots of things. You only got a short amount of time. You have to pick what is most hurtful to the country at that time.
That was the biggest impact. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to look at some tweets here this morning.
Oh, that looks like the
Thursday
left when they
tweet.
talk about some back talking. There's some back talking.
Right
some
there,
rhino
Mr.
back talk.
Mr. Comey's tweet translation.
Oh,
A little bit of
rhino. Just back talking. Just some back spitting.
A little bit
Look at
of
that.
back
That's
talk.
just every time you hear lies, I want you to remember this
Get
picture.
you some. Get you some, Comey.
I don't like his translation. I know
Like
he's
right here.
saying.
Despite 2 years of Trump's lies aimed at degrading the FBI, you did that, buddy. It remains a revered institution made up of good people, focused on finding truth and doing justice. Stay true to your mission. I remember all of you leaked to the press about my dad. Didn't like my dad's cockiness, and yet here you are. In some minds, he'll be remembered for many things, good and bad. He was who he wanted to be. You will be a disgraced bad cop, a corrupt government.
Now this is Gotti we're talking about here. This is this guy. But I have more respect for the man who had honor amongst thieves and these kind of things, if you will. I'm not calling Gotti a thief. I'm just saying that he had more honor among his kindred than Comey or any of these people. This is just sickening.
Yeah, Comey didn't have no loyalty to the country.
Nothing.
No loyalty. Just loyalty to his own pocket and his own crew of Look, it's important you stand up for Stroke, McCabe, Page, and Orr. They took a bullet for America. They had every right and duty to suspect Trump of treasonous and criminal activity. Protocols that hurt America aren't worth following. Nice.
I know other protocols. Protocols of Zion that's hurting everybody else. There's a lot of protocols. Yeesh.
Okay, bro, cool story. You were in violation of FBI internal code. You did this for profit, to sell your story. It's pathetic and unbecoming.
Yes, political edge. I agree.
Here we go. Gary Tapp. You lied under oath, leaked classified material, failed to prosecute Hillary in a open-shut case for mishandling classified emails, and participated in an attempted coup d'etat. Who directed you? Enjoy your few remaining days of freedom.
Yes, Gary. Speak it now. That's exactly.
We talk about that. They spent 2 years because of Comey leaking something to a college professor buddy in the hopes that a special counsel would be created. And he got that. Mm-hmm. Spent 2 years digging into Trump and looking for something. They didn't find nothing. They had everything on Hillary. All they had to do is walk into her presence and they trip over facts. And you can pick them up off the ground.
Into evidence.
You're tripping over facts and landing in evidence. And
her husband got kicked out of the office for lying under oath. We think, oh, well, he got impeached and it was this and Bill that. Bill, he likes the girls.
Yeah, Bill Clinton didn't get impeached or in trouble for having sexual relation in the office. It was under lying. Under oath.
That's a pretty big deal. But I guess in this case, Comey... He doesn't have those standards to live by.
Well, then you look back at all the players involved. This is the whole thing. These same people that are around today screaming Trump's... I mean... that Jerry Nadler. You can see him 30 years ago with Clinton standing up, defending that they needed to keep the paperwork around Clinton. And this is all over sexual misconduct and then lying about it. They needed to be wrapped. It needed to stay tight knit. There's people's names involved.
National security.
Yep, that's what Nadler was sitting there, blah, blah, blah. But here, 20 years later with Trump, they found nothing, and he wanted to dig further and was sitting there. We need this stuff declassified, and the people that were like, well, that's ongoing. There's names we can't do because there's ongoing. We want them anyway. If we do that, we'll be breaking the law. Great, break the law. Hurry. I need something else to happen here other than this is going to come out. So, yeah, break the law so we can talk about that. And that's what Nadler was trying to get the actual people to do. Like, all right, here, fine, we'll give you the paperwork since you keep talking about it. Aha, you broke the law. And that's just like...
It's incredible. It's almost in a realm of fantasy these people are living in. Unfortunately, their fantasies are becoming our realities if we're not careful.
It's a real nut show.
I mean, people with black eyes coming to do this, everything from the Pope to Hope Prudential, it's everybody involved. It is a crazy show. I saw a couple comments ago talking about not having enough popcorn because the show is so great and so long and it's not stopping. Yes, re-up your popcorn. This has been a show for all of us.
It's
those
one of the
who have eyes
biggest
to see.
guises that any political person, Republican or Democrat, could come onto the stage and convince you. And Democrats have been really good at it. If you got to put everyone into these boxes. Now, again, myself, I believe, Ben, I knew, we aren't Republican or Democrat. We are constitutionalists first and foremost. We listen with our ears. We watch with our eyes. And we make the best decision based off who's spitting what. But in the past, it's always been the talk. Both sides of the party. And then he says what I like the best. And then they don't do it. And their guys was, the Democrat to be, he's rich and he's going to be for the rich. And now I'm for the poor. So are you poor? Well, no, I'm rich, but I'm for the poor. And it's like, that's weird. What rich is for the poor? That's never typically been the case. And even though they'd say that, that wasn't the fact because business as usual would always go on. So my point is 30 years, some of these people, Bushes, Clintons, Nadlers, Comey, Even people on the Republican side, you look back, Jeff Sessions. I mean, these people were around. He was the head of the FBI in the 90s. Clinton comes in, fires the head of the FBI. That doesn't mean that guy's fired and disgraced and goes home. You never hear from him. He cycled off somewhere else, and then all these years later, he's back and he's doing things again. So these same people have been around for 30 years guiding this bullshit and being able to plip and plop and, oh, we're going to lower taxes. That guy over there wants to raise them on you. We're going to lower them. And that goes back and forth for years. And so imagine you're like, you have 25 years experience, 30 years, 20 years, but we'll just say somewhere 20 to 30 year experience in your job at your place of business that you've been at. And this new guy comes into the office with absolutely no experience, and he immediately begins running circles around you. And all this time, you've had your boss convinced that that for legitimate reasons, you couldn't get the job done. You couldn't get all this stuff done that you had on your plate because you just had him convinced that, wow, day to day, boss, oh my gosh. But this new guy comes in and he's running circles around you, and he gets it all done anyway, despite all your own reasons to the boss. This guy just gets it done. And imagine your resentment, your fear, your bitterness, and potential loss of job and power. Now you know why DC is so mad at President Trump.
Well, and it's even doublefold. I mean, there's 2 points I want to highlight you were talking about that just really needs to be resounded amongst all the patriots and listeners. One, which is very first and foremost, whatever side you call yourself on, we all agree that they always lie about what they're going to do. So if you're a Democrat, well, they lie to you and do something different. If you're a Republican, they're lying to you and doing something different. So once you wrap your mind around that, cool. And, you know, and the second thing is there's only one position that experience doesn't count. Most of us were born, we're raised, and we're taught since the day we were born that experience is everything. Experience means knowledge. Experience is quality. He's an experienced electrician. He's an experienced IT man. We use that word as an authoritative title, except for when you are a public governmental servant in the way of representing the people, not an FBI agent. I'm talking senators, governors, I'm talking presidents, vice presidents. Our system is set up to where they do not want an experience. In fact, the Constitution clearly states that everyone should be involved in government and represent your state, your local parent. I mean, Adams talks about it where everybody should get into government, but they also say they do not want, and that's said very clear because there's term limits. There's a reason why there's term limits. We don't want people in there for 30 years. They know that. They shouldn't be convened. And so when you see somebody that tells you they have experience, it's the only time in your taught and brainwashed life to where you should throw experience out. You don't want somebody who's experienced. Literally, you don't want somebody who's experienced. All they have to know is the founding documents and, most importantly, our Constitution. If you know that, and by the way, my 9-year-old son knows those things.
Yeah, this
He's
is
experience.
Forget the whole people like, I don't understand government. Like even these people today, like AOC, they make their way, they come in, they have all these crazy ideas that don't align. That's where it's gotten. I mean, these people don't know nothing about it. And they're coming in with these, you know, what we need to happen is this needs to start in infancy. And it should be taught from kindergarten all the way up in our school systems, government, and everyone should take part. And we can change the culture. They have it set up in this opposite way where they do everything to instill in you so you don't pay attention to it. So it's easy for them to run. This isn't geniuses up in our government running, folks. These are just average folks that we vote in and that they think they got the best understanding. You know how to negotiate for yourself. You know when you're going to purchase something at a yard sale or you're negotiating with a buddy at work. You don't get screwed over, do you? You make sure it's that simple. It's
why
that
you operating
simple.
on a larger scale. Yeah.
It's that. You don't have to have no codes and how to operate with the Japanese. I was like, no. That's why all the deals set up are outrageously corrupt and stupid. These people make deals on behalf of the U.S. and when it was 100% unfair in the eyes of everybody, but under the guise of, well, we're helping them out. They're going to give us very little. and we're going to give them a whole bunch. It's because there was some kind of greased deal under the table.
I have
Nobody
experience.
sells a
I know how
car.
to
You know, I don't buy a
negotiate.
car for 20 grand and then tomorrow sell it for 500 unless there's something
Your little-
more.
You got a little issue in the brain pan.
That's all
and,
you guys
know,
got to see. And I sit there and fight for it. Like, God, dang, he didn't have a lot of money. He needed to get a deal. And, you know, that's how things went down. That's stupid. But yet there was something else happening that we didn't get to know the full story about. And Trump
so,
is
yeah,
not part of that. He hasn't been around to be part of that. So it's funny for all these years. Most people thought it was a corrupt system. There's nothing we can do. We need to get a normal person in there. But Trump's not the normal one because the media has convinced you of that. That's all it is. Think about it. The media is owned by these same people that are really upset that Trump's exposing them. So they're using the media now to attack Trump and keep the stories off themselves. That's how crazy it's gotten. That's the bottom line. That's it. You know, that's why it would be hard for any normal, very normal, non-Hollywood, non-powerful, non-rich person to go against this system. And hell to find a few people to go with you. Because the power, you know, the minute you point the one finger at just one guy in the system, this whole system can come raining down on you. He's a terrorist, you know, they'll dig up your past, all your bad qualities, everything they can do to smear you in about 2.3 seconds. Because that's how powerful of a system it is. Again, we argue amongst, you know, people think they're smarter than you when you're like, man, I researched that story for 3 weeks. I dug into articles. I found out this guy lived in this small thing. He went to Cambridge College, and people are like, the media told me that you were an idiot. You know, they'll re-spew the you know, like we said, a lot of people didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein until his name came out. Now all of a sudden he's, I don't know, he's some sick pedophile millionaire or something. That's about all they know. And you're like, well, yeah, did you know this? In 1985, he did this with the government. Yeah, what are you looking at, you know? And I didn't hear that, so therefore it's not real. And
you guys and your conspiracies.
Yes.
I tell you, you got to wear that, you know, aluminum foil hat stuff. You know, and the same people who do that, they'll say, yeah, you know, something fishy about 9/11. It just doesn't seem right. You're like, whoa, you too? Tinfoil hat wearing kind of thing? What's going on?
Yeah. Isn't it funny that, like I said, if you're talking to your neighbor and, you know, it's kind of like, you're like, hey, man, did you come into my yard last night? Looks like you were mowing. You could see mow stripes, and he just came in and burned yours up or something. And no. If it doesn't add up, you're going to probably engage him a little bit. No, you're lying to me, Jim. Come on now. And
brother, I clearly see footprints from your yard into mine, and just the mower. I can see it's the same width as the other mow marks in yours. Oh, I see it's the same
state of
wheel
affairs.
track.
It's a sad state of affairs when we live in a country where, you know, people will
Critical
2
thought's not
seconds stand out in their
celebrated.
living room, stand 2 seconds in front of a TV and get something, and then suck it up like a straw, suck it up like a sponge, and then repeat that. And when you're talking to them, you're like, well, I went the extra steps and spent 2 hours digging into that same thing you're trying to tell me about, and this is what really happened. And that you're considered the conspiracy by the same person that only knows that, you know, but without admitting it to himself and not really realizing it, because that's how they got you. Is that same person would agree with anybody. Like, don't believe everything you see on TV. But he's the one repeating everything he sees on TV. He's the one repeating a story that he didn't research at all, that he's relying on this other group channel to do for him and shove it at him real quick. And that's how quick they're. And other news, Southern California, blah, 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 Epstein, and other news. And then that's it. They're off that. And he took that. And now that's his fact. That's his research. He took the time to watch that, and how dare you, ask him about, you know, his research and how he got it. You know, he watched the TV, and that's what they said. And we that guy, I know, he's been on that channel for 18 years. He's well trusted. So,
You know, this actually curtails very, really nice. I just thought of something that was so perfect what you just said. How do you spot somebody who's truly on the path of wanting the truth? What signs, like what signs do you see with somebody? Okay, so we'll go over a few signs, some of the things that Mike and I in our everyday and sometimes us trying to get out, we see if somebody is truly awoke or they're parroting what was heard moments ago. The first one is, a lot of times if you do come across somebody who is truly, honestly devoted to finding the truth, they'll probably have more questions than answers. And the answers they do have, they may stand on authority, but have to give you lots of references where they've come up with it. Somebody who is parroting information that sounded good to them will always stand and as a position of authority where their point is always right regardless. They got to be right. And so that's at least one sign. The second sign is if you are having a conversation, one of the positive signs to see if somebody else is truly awake is the conversation will be very easy back and forth because you'll have questions. Because I'll say, well, you know what, I think about this, but you know, I'm always, what do you think about that? It's a discovery conversation rather than a regurgitation conversation. And there's a huge difference. And it goes everything from, I mean, we've got firearm, quote unquote, experts and people telling you how high speed, low drag they are. And then come to find out they've never served in the military. They were a security guard, but they wear the tactical gear and they play the part, but they don't really have the skills or training. Whereas you see a real firearm expert and he has more questions on calibers and gauges and cartridge swaps and bank lengths of barrel, and his is more about, that's interesting. Well, have you tried this? What do you think? And this can go on to IT, to automotive, to all kinds of things. This is just a way to spot somebody who's truly on the same path of discovering the truth in whatever area like you are. And remember, somebody that has more answers and questions, I'd be weary. Because, I mean...
Yeah. So let's take a few looks here. See what old Trump's saying here.
There's your little tornadoes here and there getting spun on all across the East Coast. Probably in front and behind the hurricane. Just because the crazy winds.
There's a formation of a tornado right there.
Yeah.
That's starting.
So yes, the weather patterns that a hurricane produces in front of its path, miles and miles in front of its path, and even behind its path, you're talking the barometric pressures all over the board. High.
Sets the perfect conditions. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. And again, it harkens back to yesterday's video, listening to the guy at the trailer park calling for the Navy to maybe bring in some stuff, or how about the Air Force to fly over and break up that wind pattern. Hey, an F-16 Tomcat with a nice subsonic going straight to the eye of that little cone right there would obliterate that in a heartbeat. You know, I could stop that immediately.
This was originally projected path of the hurricane in its early stages. As you can see, almost all models predicted to go through Florida, also hitting Georgia and Alabama. I accept the fake news apologies.
There you go. Now, when they present this, and look, it even had the little NOAA symbol on there, which is the Northern Oceanic, whatever, the NOOAH. They're using what they call super AI intelligent computers to put all this stuff in using high-end trigonometry. And, when they first, it's going to can go past this, and it's not. You see, these guys can't even they can't even tell you what's going to happen 24 hours from a current storm. And these same people are telling you that our Earth is cooling and warming at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing is more important than going back and getting to the bottom of the origins of the investigation. We had an administration use America's spying apparatuses to spy on political opponent at the height of a presidential election. Those are all known, undisputed facts. And that should terrify every single American regardless of their political stripe. The idea that all of that information hasn't already been revealed shows how dastardly these people are and how terrified they are about what's going to happen when that information does come out. Charlie Hurt, Washington Times. That's it right there, folks.
Our commander-in-chief just, yes.
Well, as these same pundits sit there in the last year, like, you know, you'd go on CNN, I'd flip it to MSNBC, or just see these clips highlighted on YouTube for their craziness. And you'd see these people acting like the biggest, you know, he worked with the foreign government to try to overthrow our politically due process. And it's like, well, you know, at the same time they're spitting that out, that everything they're describing that they tried to blame on Trump is what actually happened, like with Hillary. She was the Democratic candidate. She paid a foreign dude, Christopher Steele, known spy for the British intelligence, to write a fake thing, gave him money, got the book back in her hand, ran to the FBI with it. Like, they knew they were going to do that. We need you to go write this and put a bunch of shit in it. We don't care what you put, but hurry up. And the minute he gave it back, they're like giving him a money check, whatever, and then they run over and turn it in. Here's how we got something. And it wasn't Hillary herself.
This is all public information. This is all public. We already know this.
Has stopped long enough to even report on that. Like, they're trying to cover that up. It's like, you know, anytime there's been a guy that CNN has on, there's like 9 of them. They got the Brady Bunch panel going on, 9 of them, and there's one guy from the other side, and he brings that up. It goes fuzzy, and we lost them, or
they hammer hard.
So we know that is a fact. We know that that's the reason that hasn't been brought up a lot or covered by them, because that was the whole reason for doing this other thing that they're doing. They are so terrified about this. And
about us, the fact that we're saying this, and remember, we always tell you approximately 80% is done behind the scenes, never to see the light of day. And if what Mike just rattled off goes to show you anything, this is public information, public knowledge, and they do fear we the people the most out of anything. And I'm thankful that a lot of us are, we use the term awoke, but honestly, a lot of us are peeling back the mud from our eyes and the crust from our ears, and for the first time in a long time is finally hearing and seeing what's truly happening in our environment. And people don't like what they see, and they don't want to blame themselves or people around them. I mean, this is classic. To declassify is so important, because if this were a Democratic president or a Democratic candidate that was spied on the way that President Trump was spied on, this would be a scandal that would make Watergate look like nothing. Legal spying? Eesh, on the President of the United States. That doesn't even compute. That shouldn't have never happened. This should all be vested before he's a candidate, right? If there's any wrongdoing, just like we were talking, why is Hillary running? Isn't she like under indictment, or she's under investigation or something? He's like, well, you know, she's different. She's different.
And just like all these people that don't, like, the funniest shit I've heard all day, just out of the blue, some random troll. They don't even understand what he's talking about, you know?
That's the gravity of the words he's using.
Well, when you're the only one screaming, and it's not, you know, a lot of people that follow this, if you surround yourself with Trump talking, and then maybe Hannity streams the same stuff every night now. Mm-hmm. Places like the Patriot Hour, we've been doing it for 2 years. Other channels around YouTube, other conservative people that have been following along. It can almost feel like, and I can see why people are commenting down below. I get it all. When's it going to happen? I mean, it can only take you 2 months of jumping into this and following along. 2 months, you know, you work, but every chance you got, you're listening and figuring it out. And you can come to this conclusion really quickly, like within a 2 month cycle of like, I'm just new to this whole waking up thing. What's going on? And then by the end of the 2 months, you've gone through a cycle of everything you can, and you come to a great conclusion.
Now you're jaded, or you are.
Well, when's the process going to happen? I've been here for 2 months. I haven't seen nothing yet. And it's like, you know, this has been going on for a couple thousand years, right? Evil, running amok, systems, games, handshakes.
Deception, lies.
We got Trump in for 2.5 now. That's exposing them. and the system's not even done yet. Patience isn't hardly anybody's best feature or virtue. It's tough. It really, really is tough.
Doesn't come natural to me, I could tell you that.
It's an unnatural. I was in the military and I hate the hurry up and wait. It sucks. So I get it, folks. I get it. Hold tough. Stand tall. Stand fast.
I agree with you, Danielle Baird. It's patience isn't my best virtue as well. But here's the thing: I feel very reluctant. And Mike and I have talked about this. You got to be able to have somebody that you can call, you can lean on, and you can trust with personal information. I got Mike to lean on. We've had each other for a long time now. Was just how it came together. You need to have somebody to lean on that you can bounce these ideas, that you don't feel alone and you're so crazy all the time. And that's another reason why Mike started the Patriot Hour and we're all a part of it. So we get to read cool stuff like what's our commander-in-chief saying on this tweet, Mike?
Based on the IG report, the whole witch hunt against me and my administration was a giant and illegal scam. The House of Representatives should now get back to work on drug prices, health care, infrastructure, and all else. The Mueller report showed no collusion, no obstruction. I mean,
how clearly else can you state that this? It's like we're beating a dead horse here.
What's this guy say? Read a couple comments here.
The Democrat-led House of Representatives has no agenda for the United States. Their sole purpose is to continue their political vendetta against the president, Trump. I mean, Democrats have nothing whatsoever to offer the American people. We've said this before, who can run against, Trump? Mueller. No exonerator. No special counsel. Tearsley repudiates claims by the president about the total vindication witch hunt.
Others will join me in leaving Make America Great Again. Okay.
Well, David Wiseman, you should probably leave America because you don't like it great again. So you go to where things are not great, David Wiseman. Corrupt officials at DOJ, FBI, and likely in other federal agencies tried to stop @real Donald Trump from being elected and then removed from being president of the United States. Accountability must be imposed in order to restore confidence in the institutions of government. Alan Sutton, you are 100% correct. There is no confidence right now in the American institution, and the only person that I have confidence in is what our president's doing and our president, because he's showing tangible, physical evidence of his actions. Man. Heavenly Father. Fact check, there's absolutely nothing in the IG report that says the Mueller investigation was in any way illegal. Wow. Heavenly Father, huh?
Well, remember that at the end, they're not supposed to, Mueller's whole conclusion they said it was all like him talking, and it wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be like facts of the thing and not lay out
he shouldn't give his opinion on how it should be handled. They only asked him for facts. This is why we try to tell you guys.
The FBI wasn't supposed to come out and say, like he did, like Comey came out. They're supposed to just give the facts over to the Department of Justice and recommend charges or no charges. Not, here's all the crimes she did, but we're not going to recommend charges because we kind of think that no prosecutor in their right mind would, you guys are just there to gather the evidence and turn over all the evidence and then recommend charges, not
the FBI
conclude
digs the hole,
on what you
the
think a prosecutor would do.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because almost like the FBI digs the hole and the DOJ decides to fill it or leave it open.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. So this is why we have a balance of power, just like in your local police officer or the local police units or your local law enforcement. There's a crime. Well, there's going to be an investigator who's going to bring some evidence, then he's going to give it to the county prosecutor, and the county prosecutor's like, "What'd you bring me? I'm not doing nothing with this. There's no charges. What do you guys got?" "Well, that's what we had. You need to let him go because you ain't got no evidence." Or wow, this is okay. This evidence is so incredibly substantial. I feel as a county prosecutor, not as a police officer, that I can bring this, and this is, you know, this is criminal. This is charges can be brought. If you don't have that balance of power, you start having what we've been having for years, tyrannical dictatorships, acronym agencies controlling the DOJ, the judges, how the FISA happens, all these grand juries, all this dog and pony bread and circus show for the American people to think that we're doing something, but all the guys not giving over the evidence that the grand jury needs to make a proper ruling, not giving us evidence, knowingly lying to the public through mainstream media, and nothing happening to me. This is it. It's almost like tyranny for a congressman to get on television and lie to us when he already read the report and said there's nothing in the report. Like that, he should be held, liable for that.
That's just crazy. All right, we're over the 2-hour mark. Probably shut this one down. What time is it?
We got it's 9:40 in the morning, Eastern time.
Yeah. It's been great. We kind of went over lots of articles here. I want to look at a few other things and possibly different, get a little video out here this morning or for this afternoon. So we're going to let you guys get on with your morning into your afternoon. It's been a great chat, a great live show, a great morning in general. We love waking up to you guys.
Yes.
This will probably be the norm. More days than not, a live feed. Get used to the 20-minute some kind of feed, me popping in shortly after me. It looks like with the schedules, we're just getting it figured out too, folks. So
yep. We'll try to be popping in when we can. Mike's going to be holding it down there in the studio. Again, welcome to the good American family. We've got children. We've got responsibilities just like you, but we work our schedules and we push through so we can be with you and get the information out, because it's just as important to us as it is to you guys to know this stuff. And we're in it for the long haul. I want to be buried in this great land. I don't want to be, so I'm here until the day God takes me away and I shed this mortal coil.
Heck yeah. All right, folks. Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Happy Thursday. Short week kind of blew by. Tomorrow's Friday for all of you doing the typical Monday to Friday. This is a short week, Tuesday to Friday. So TJIF, look forward to that show tomorrow morning. For sure. We'll have something lined up. Like always, Mike, that was Ben, Patriot Hour. God bless.
God bless you.
Each and every one of you. We'll see you back here on the next Patriot Hour update. Old Glory.
God's sunshine and America's freedom.
To the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed.